Number 24190670, resolution creating a citizen anti-displacement advisory committee. Alderman Coggs, Alderman Perez, and myself are the sponsors. This was in a direct reaction to constituents coming down and expressing their concern of gentrification and displacement, particularly with the development downtown. And in the conversation, Alderman Coggs, actually that day, sponsored this piece of legislation. So, Alderman Coggs.
Thank you, Alderman Stamper and committee members. With all of the wonderful development downtown, there is a level of increase in assessments that those who have chosen to live around the downtown area, particularly in my district, that Howard Park area, are already seeing. And we know from past legislation that we've done and displacement studies, anti-displacement studies that Department of City Development has done at our request, that there are a few areas in my district, Alderman Stamper's district and Alderman Perez's district, that will likely suffer, if they are not already suffering from, increased assessments. So figuring out, how to balance this downtown development with, making sure that we preserve the pillars of the community who have helped to build the neighborhoods that we already have is something that I know we've been focused on for a few years now, and with partners like MK United and others who are there for the cause. It's several different pieces of legislation and things that we've done. But at one of our zoning meetings, some of the residents from the Harambe and the Howard Park neighborhoods just testified about what they already are seeing in increases and the impact that it is having on them, many of them being retired and seniors, and how they don't like what's going on and how they don't feel consulted about what's going on. It is their voice being raised at that meeting that sparked the concept and idea to allow for there to be some citizen input, even more so than historically has been over the legislation that we recommend, but also ideas that they may have that we may never thought of that could help us to deal with displacement issues and to prevent gentrification. So it is at that last meeting that I offered this legislation and that we would sponsor it immediately. And since we were off in August, this is immediately. And that, and some of them who came to testify could even be considered for membership, but it's a 9-member committee, 3 members from each of the districts that are most heavily impacted right now with displacement as determined by the map that DCD helped to create. My hope is that out of this citizens committee, that citizens are able to have a seat at the table as we discuss these issues and find solutions for these issues, and that through their recommendations for the legislation we present and for ideas that they have on programs and legislation that we also should be doing, that we're able to save some of the pillars in these communities, and that we're able to balance development and growth with preserving the history as well as the great residents that live in some of our best neighborhoods.
Excellent.
And I want to thank Alderman Stamper and Alderman Perez for their co-sponsorship, not just on this legislation, but on all the anti-displacement gentrification legislation. And I say this every time I get to talk to affected residents, that let's be clear, unlike in other municipalities where conversations are often had about the government being okay with people being displaced or people being gentrified out of neighborhoods, know that this council as a whole and those of us who represent the affected neighborhoods are continuing to fight for solutions to help to make sure that people are not displaced, that neighborhoods are not gentrified. And this is just one of many tools that we'll be using to help to do that.
Excellent, excellent. So, yeah, this is about transparency, communication, and making sure that the residents that live over there have direct input. So I'm very proud of this. Thank you so much for your leadership, Alderwoman Coggs. With that, do we have any comments or questions? Alderman Rainey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
You're welcome.
Although the 7th Automatic District isn't directly impacted by this issue at the moment, I believe it's an issue that's important enough that I would like to be on the record
Sure.
as in support of. So
Thank
with that
you.
being said, please add me as a co-sponsor, Mr. Chair.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Please add Alderman Rainey as a co-sponsor
Likewise, Mr. Chairman.
and Alderman Johnson. You guys are experiencing any gentrification or displacement over there in the 2nd and the 10th? I mean, in the 8th?
Add my name.
All right, this
Thank
is
you,
unanimous
guys.
support for this legislation. All right, thank you, Alderman Coggs. Alderman Johnson moves for approval. Hearing no objection, so ordered.